Good morning, everyone. It's Matt from Trail Rider Camp. Admittedly, it's been a while, and I apologize for that. Life has kind of gotten in the way quite a bit of getting out and seeing some new trails to document here for you. Between kids' activities and just the terrible winter we had, biking just hasn't really been in the cards, other than a few, kind of jaunts out to kind of local trails that I've already made some videos about. So today it's early March, it's a Friday, the weather's supposed to get into the mid 60s, so I decided, okay, why not try to get out, get a ride in. And I'm here at the Sandy Creek Trail, about, I'd say, an hour and a half north of Pittsburgh, a little bit south of the town of Franklin. And specifically, I'm here at the far western end terminus of the trail, what's labeled in Google Maps as Fisherman Cove Trailhead. And just to kind of show you real quick, I mean, there's, let me flip it this way. There's really not much parking here to speak of whatsoever. You come down basically 3 miles down this kind of dirt gravel road, and then there's a pull-off that's pretty much just packed dirt, which right now is just pure mud, and you can probably fit, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4 cars here at most. And I actually felt kind of iffy even pulling in here, because we have had so much snow this winter, and it's all melted in the past 2 weeks, and then we have had rain all this week. So I expect that the trail is going to be a mess. I think it's going to be mud and potholes galore. But again, whatever. I'm just out here to get a ride in. But I'm more worried about backing up out of this when I'm done. I actually saw it look like on the drive in that there were some ruts where people had gotten their cars stuck. So I'm hoping today it's about 12 miles out to the other end, the van trailhead 12 miles back, so that'd make about 24. I would love to be able to get down also onto the Allegheny River Trail and maybe do a few miles of that, maybe heading north toward Franklin, but a lot of it's going to be based on time. I got 4 hours here to ride, then I got to get back in order to get my kids to a practice after school. So I'm going to just make the most of the day, enjoy my time not being at work, and hopefully show you a few scenes along the way. So the thing I love about this trail is, it's short, but the views are amazing. This is obviously where a creek here runs into the Allegheny River, and you can see some debris floating down. Everything's running insanely high right now. And I know I have some, friends that have camps up along the Allegheny River up here. And there was a lot of flood damage just in the past few weeks with all the snow melt and then the rain. So the trail right through here, just the first bit, is paved, but there's tons of debris, again, from the winter. And then you can see it's a very foggy morning. It's actually deceptively cold and way foggier than it was at home. So I might actually adjust and put my hood up here because I'm pretty chilly right now. Raging waterfall off the hillside there. I wonder if this is like even noticeable at the height of summer. So like I said, here's a picture of the surface here at first. Paved, but strewn with debris from the winter. And then it's really broken up in some places, where the roots have kind of force their way up, so you really can't go overly fast along this stretch. And then you got the Allegheny River off to the side there, so it's really nice right now without the leaves on the trees. You can see everything a ways away. I would think that you would even have decent visibility in the spring here farther. So you go past a few trailside camp spots that people obviously own seasonally, and then all of a sudden you come up to this just Absolutely beautiful house looking down on the river. Oh my goodness. And you can see how you got a gravel road that runs parallel to the trail through here. All right, we're coming up to the Belmar Bridge, which is kind of the centerpiece of the Sandy Creek Trail. Beautiful bridge over the Allegheny River there, and then, like you said, I've been passing more and more of these little kind of camps, and I just like looking at them. You know, kind of seeing how people live, kind of people's setups. I always find that to be really interesting. And a historical placard there. I think this is the second set of picnic tables I passed, and so I'm about 4 miles in thus far. At least the fog's starting to lift. At the midway point of the bridge. As you can see, I got the trail to myself this morning. I don't think anybody else is as crazy as I am, because it's pretty chilly and it's very damp out. I remember the first time I was up here, probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we started in Emmlinton on the Allegheny River Trail, which connects right at the far side here of the trail. You have to basically walk your bike up a little ramp. And then we came out here just to scope this out, and there was 2 local teenagers, I'm not kidding you, straddling that beam out there, making out. And I'm like, of all the places that I'd be making out, it would not be precariously perched on some old railroad bridge 100 feet above the Allegheny River. But goes to underscore, we all do some really stupid things when we're teens. Alright, so I'm at the far side of the bridge, and then right off the side here is where I was talking about. If you want to go down to the Allegheny River Trail, you have to kind of walk your bike down here, and then they have these ramps next to these stairs. And it goes all the way down, so it's a decent ways. So if you're somebody that you know, struggles pushing a bike up something like this, just know that that might not be an option for you. Little kids especially might really struggle with this. And then the river trail, Allegheny River Trail, runs down below there, and that's a really cool trail as well. So like I said, if I have time, I might do a few miles on that. Now the other thing I also wanted to point out is that from this point forward along the trail, you might see, well, these are supposed to be blue blazes. They've obviously faded. And that is because along this stretch of the Allegheny River Trail and then the Sandy Creek Trail, this also doubles as the North Country National Scenic Trail, a hiking trail that literally runs from North Dakota all the way to basically Vermont. And back during COVID, a buddy of mine and myself, we hiked from the Pennsylvania-Ohio border all the way to the Van Trailhead, which is where we're going here. So basically like 130-mile hiking experience. So yeah, just something to be on the lookout for. If you're walking, or if you're riding along here and you see blue blazes, or you see people with backpacks and things, you know, they might be doing a longer distance hiking trip, because this is a really cool hiking route that a lot of people don't know about. All these really pretty bridge crossings is what I remember most about this trail from previous visits, and why I decided to come up here today again. I mean, it's just really beautiful from a scenery perspective. You don't have like just the boring kind of monotony that you have on many trails. I mean, this is already the 3rd or 4th creek slash river slash whatever you call it crossing, and I think that there's a few more still to go. Another pretty bridge crossing, and this one you can actually see a lot of evidence of ice dams, because there's still big chunks of ice just kind of like thrown up onto some of these banks there. So like I said, that's all been within the past 2 weeks that all that stuff unjammed, came down creeks and rivers, and then eventually kind of melted away. Well, shoot. I totally forgot about the existence of this and thus did not bring a headlamp. And I can't see the other end, so we're going to see how this goes. I might have to turn around and just do some Allegheny River Trail parts more than this if I can't get overly far, but put on the old flashlight here on the phone and see what happens. I was able to make it. Luckily, as I kind of got in a little bit, you could almost immediately see the other end. It's about 900 feet long, it said on the sign. And then the other thing that's really nice is you have these reflectors on the ground. So even though my flashlight barely gave off any light, it was enough to reflect off of those and guide me. So no, if you're like me and you didn't have a headlamp, never fear, you can still make it through. But a headlamp or a light definitely would be preferable. And now we're across another one of these. I think this is now the 5th or 6th that I've crossed just since the Belmar Bridge. So I just went over another bridge crossing. So if you're like me and you like high bridges over water with mountains in the background, I mean, this, in my opinion, this trail might be the best scenery trail in western Pennsylvania. I mean, I don't know. Everybody got their own metric, but to me, this is immaculate. And then I didn't remember this. I always thought that like part of this trail was crushed limestone and part of it was paved, but no, it's paved the entire way. So that was a nice surprise. Now, I'm assuming I just was confused and didn't remember correctly, because this does not look overly new. But I mean, who knows? Again, it's probably been 4 or 5 years since I've last been out here. So one thing that's an added benefit of me making these videos is, in addition to sharing information with others that want to do them, it actually helps me keep my trails straight as well. Another bridge. It's got to be like bridge 8. So most of the trail is pretty flat. I would say for the past mile or two, all of a sudden there's been a noticeable kind of upward direction to it as we're heading toward the Van trailhead. In terms of kind of amenities, really there's not many along the trail. I have not really seen any parking. There's been no restrooms, no water, no fill-up stations, none of that. Just a few benches here and there, and even one of the benches I saw, it was kind of tucked back in a pretty area off to the right here, and you could tell that floodwaters had came up and just kind of ripped it up, twisted it, and then like deposited it off to the side. So like you said, definitely a lot of flood damage. Not on the trail itself, but kind of you can see, you know, in the surrounding areas. Now, one other thing I wanted to address was I could have sworn years ago when I came through here that there was a hiking shelter for long distance hikers on the North Country Trail somewhere along this stretch. I have not seen it. Frankly, I might have been zoned out or not paying attention and went right past it, but what I do want to point out, if anybody is watching this from the perspective of scoping out a hike along this stretch, is that you have a lot of areas on both sides that you can easily stealth camp. You know, if you got a backpacking tent and you're coming through here on a multi-day trip and you need to pitch a tent somewhere, I mean, this right here is not the best example part. It's kind of hard to talk and dodge this vegetation at the same time. But there's some other parts where there's much more of a bank, that it's flat, that you could put a tent down, or frankly kind of just go up on the hillside a little bit, not as steep as this part, but you could easily camp and nobody would be any the wiser. In fact, I even saw a few places where it said, you know, fishing is allowed, walk down, and there's basically like a path that brings you right down next to the river. So Just know, again, if you're somebody who is backpacking the North Country Trail and coming through here, you know, while it might not be legal, you're pretty remote. I mean, you can, at times here, there's some road off in the distance that you can hear, but I mean, I think I've passed one walker this entire time. All right, so there is a hiking shelter. So as I'm heading toward Van, it's on the right side here, up on the hillside facing way, so it gives you privacy, which is nice. And then there's even a sign that clearly marks it. So, and it looks new. It looks in really good condition, at least from this perspective. Very nice. Alrighty, I made it to Van. So yeah, 12 miles from Fisherman's Cove. And the lot here is not overly large either. Again, from an accessibility standpoint, there's really not many places to access this trail for how awesome it is. And then you can see it's like all torn up over there, so I don't know what's going on with the kind of entrance, if they're doing some construction or something. And then whoever's car this is just plopped it right across the parking lot. So yeah, big con is parking and amenities. I was hoping that there may be a porta-john or something here for me to use, but not the case. So I'm going to turn around, and then when I get to the Belmar Bridge, I figure I'll see what time it is, and if I look like I have a decent amount of time, I'll probably jump on the Allegheny River Trail some. If not, I'll just keep on heading back to the car. And then that shelter literally, you know, is a 5-minute walk from this parking lot. So if you're somebody that's looking for that. So I was talking to a nice gentleman back there who was probably only the second person I've seen today. And he said that he was out walking, you know, because he likes looking at the wildlife along the trail. And I always, you know, that's one of my scoring criteria. I'm always interested in seeing wildlife. And I remember in previous visits here, the only wildlife I ever saw was, I saw probably a record number of porcupines and a record number of skunks. I've seen neither today. I've literally seen no wildlife today. And he agreed, and he said it's probably still a little bit too early, you know, with the cold. And he said they literally had still snow in large amounts on the trail, you know, about a week ago. But he said that it's very common to get, you know, bald eagles up here, bear, coyote. So the potential for wildlife is high. Okay, so I walked my bike down that ramp. So up there's the Belmar Bridge. And it's, you know, yeah, it's a decent kind of struggle to get your bike down, and you come down this little path. And then if you go to the left, you go to the Kennerdale Tunnel, which, again, me lacking my headlamp, I'm not going that way. Or you can go the other way, 5 miles to Franklin. So I have about a half an hour before I need to turn around and start heading back to the car. So I think I'm going to push and try to get to Franklin, but we'll see. I know that there's a decent sized parking lot there. The Allegheny River Trail for this stretch is in impeccably good condition. I mean, smooth as can be, paved asphalt, no real bumps or anything. And then the river, you can see again, is high, running fast, but looks pretty clear. At least in terms of like no more ice chunks, no debris floating down the river. So really nice day to be out here. Have pretty much both trails to myself. Just what the doctor ordered. Made it up to the Franklin trailhead. Took me probably about 20 minutes to get here from the Belmar Bridge. And they have some real nice maps here, a little covered pavilion thing, including you know, a map of Franklin and all the businesses across the river, and a map of the Erie to Pittsburgh Trail, which this is a part of. And you can kind of see over on this map that at this parking lot this ceases to be the Allegheny River Trail and then becomes the Samuel Justice Trail instead. There's a lot of parking down here. I think if I would do this again like I did today, instead I would just come here and park, go do the whole Sandy Creek, and then just come back here. And then there's an information center here. I don't know if it's open. I'm not going to go in. So like I said, I'm kind of on a time limit today, so I'm going to turn around and start heading back in the direction of the car. Right outside of Franklin here, there's this advertisement for an ice cream place up on the hill. There's a ramp. It says Tuesdays to Sundays 4 to 9. It's kind of weird hours. This is not even a mile outside of Franklin. And you got some picnic tables. And then you have two different shelters here with fire rings. And obviously some tent pads. So I have no idea what this is. I see no bathrooms whatsoever. I don't see any water. I mean, again, I don't know if this is for long distance people. Who knows? I mean, but it looks like a nice setup with the exception of the lack of bathrooms. Like, back on the Sandy Creek Trail, on the other side of the Belmar Bridge. So I figure I probably got a little under 4 miles left to go here. I gotta say, walking the bike up that ramp to get to the Belmar Bridge, quite the workout. I was surprised how much I was huffing and puffing getting up there. So again, word to the wise, if you're older or I don't know, small and have a hard time lifting big heavy things, or you got kids with you, might not want a chance going down there because you might not be able to get back up. So just know it is a very steep ascent. A lot more people out here on the trail now too. Okay, so I made it back to the car. Ended up being 35.2 miles altogether. And then like I said, this is just the sorry excuse for a parking lot here in this kind of like dirt road that you come down and then the beginning of the trail. So I'm gonna hop in the car, head on home, and get something to eat for lunch. So I'm back at home, and it's time to do my usual summary remarks on the trail experience today. Now keep in mind that these remarks are for the Sandy Creek Trail, not for the little bit of the Allegheny River Trail that I did kind of at the end. So out of all the trails I've done, this is definitely one of the most scenic. I give it a 10 out of 10. You're along the Allegheny River almost the entire time, or along the Sandy Creek or some other creek, and it's just water, bridge crossing constantly. You throw in the tunnel. There's just lots to see the entirety of the way. Surface, I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's paved the entire time. There are some kind of cracks and bumps at first, but it really kind of mellows out in a hurry, and frankly, it goes for easy riding. Safety, 5 out of 5 as well. Not really much in the way of road crossings. I never once felt unsafe. I would feel safe with children, with elderly, you name it. Parking was one of the biggest disappointments, a 1 out of 5. I only saw the two parking lots, the Van Trailhead at the east end and the Fisherman's Cove at the west end, and Fisherman's Cove was almost non-existent, and Van was way smaller than I remembered it being. Food and drinks, 0 out of 5. There was no options. Heck, the closest option was the Sheets, and that was probably 15-20 minutes away. Facilities, 1 out of 5. There was a few benches, and again, that was it. The fact that there's not a single porta potty anywhere remotely near the Sandy Creek Trails is a problem. And it's a problem that needs to be rectified. Wildlife, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Well, I didn't see much today. I saw a few ducks here and there, but I know for a fact that there can be a lot of wildlife on this trail. And again, my conversation with the one man kind of reiterated it. Fun, 5 out of 5. I had an absolute blast today. I've had a blast every time I've ever been up there. And so overall, that makes for a total of 34 out of 50, a solid score, especially given some of the zeros.